relieves foot pain. Another plant you'll find in the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies is boneset, which can easily be turned into one of the most powerful antipyretics. This means that it drastically reduces a fever. In fact, the name boneset was derived from the plant's use in the treatment of breakbone fever. As we age, men get an inflamed prostate, while women develop what's called an overactive bladder. The name is different, but the result is the same. It starts with more and more frequent bathroom trips, some at 3 a.m. that will cost you a good night's sleep and leave you feeling dizzy the next day. Luckily, there is a very effective remedy for both. One will flush out and prevent urine buildup, while the other will take care of the underlying inflammation which affects the muscles. But there is a side effect. Some people following this treatment experience a tremendous surge in their sex drive. On page 203, you'll find a gorgeous plant that regulates thyroid hormones, helping people with hypothyroidism increase their energy levels and lose weight. You will also find a plant that has a high concentration of chromium. Several studies have now demonstrated that chromium controls the metabolic action of insulin. One of them showed that a 10-month treatment with chromium in 833 patients with type 2 diabetes significantly reduced their fasting glucose levels beginning with the first month. Chromium is extremely rare nowadays because of the food processing methods that remove most of the naturally occurring chromium from foods. Maybe this is one of the reasons why type 2 diabetes is so common today, but 100 years ago, it was a rarely occurring disease. While our grandparents consumed almost every part of this plant, today it has become invisible to most Americans. Allergies are not to be taken lightly. On page 169, you'll find a plant called butterbur. This plant is so special because it contains antihistamines. When butterbur was compared in a randomized controlled trial, although the results were the same, butterbur didn't produce the sedative side effects associated with cetirizine. Same results, no money, fewer side effects. If you ever have to go out foraging, will you know which one of these plants is edible, which one is a remedy for high blood pressure and tension, and which one is poisonous? The Native Americans knew all too well, and probably our grandparents did too. But very few people nowadays could give the correct answer. As a survivalist, I can tell you that this kind of skill will set you apart from your group during dark times, and will probably turn you into their guide, or even their savior. I'm sure that you've seen this plant too. It grows in most forest glades. You'll discover how to use it effectively to treat not only common colds, but lung infections as well. Also, breathing in the steam from leaves that have been boiled in water will immediately calm the asthma attack. This is probably why 100 years ago, people with asthma didn't die from it. On page 200, you'll also discover a plant called Pipsissewa, which in Cree means to break up into small pieces. That's because of its ability to break up and dissolve painful kidney stones. This plant also contains a substance called hydroquinone, which disinfects the urinary system and heals inflammation of the bladder. If you've ever walked through the edges of a woodland and gotten some sticky burrs attached to your clothing, you can bet you've just passed by this plant. The best way to deal with this annoying weed? Eat it. Native Americans use it as a sweetener 200 years ago, and it tastes better than most greens I know. What people don't know is that this plant is also a strong diuretic for poor blood circulation. People who use it can go from dizzy and tired most of the time to having an excess of energy in a few weeks. Another plant you'll find inside is called woolly lamb's ear. Also known as backyard bandage, this weed has been used for centuries on battlefields to stop bleeding. It's been recently discovered that it's high in vitamin K, the vitamin that coagulates the blood. It's the same powdered vitamin that we gave our soldiers in World War II to pour over the wound in case they were shot. A plant for a strong heart is called kudzu. This invasive weed has one very powerful property. It expands the arteries and vessels, lowering the blood pressure and unlocking blood flow. And in doing so, it helps treat a lot of problems like swollen feet or cold hands. No matter where you live in America, there's a source of water nearby. And when there's water, there are cattails. If you find cattails, you'll have everything you need for survival. Water, food, shelter, and fuel. Cattails are edible, but few people know what is probably the most important thing about them, the jelly-like substance that grows between its leaves. It is very good for severe skin infections. On a different note, this gel is the only part of the cattail that is widely considered to be inedible. It's not poisonous, so why? Well, because it has a powerful numbing effect on moist tissues and has been used as a Novocaine substitute in the past. Yes, it's an anesthetic. When the pioneers were hit with a ravaging toothache, they would just go and get their jar of cattail ooze and rub it around their gums. The pain would subside in minutes. On page 57, you'll find a very special plant that can prevent 5 out of every 6 visits to the doctor. The sap of this plant is mildly narcotic. It is similar in the medical effect to the opium poppy, but it is much milder in its action and does not depress the central nervous system. It aids in treating sleep deprivation, anxiety, and nervous tension. Not only is this completely legal, but it is also a pretty common plant. I advise people to take it at bedtime as a simple infusion. Unlike sleeping pills, this plant is not addictive and doesn't have any known side effects. Usually, sleeping pills induce sleep by artificially lowering heart rate. You'll also discover the plants that I use in my Leaky Gut Herbal Blend. The Leaky Gut Blend not only heals the gut, but also decreases gut inflammation and helps balance your gut flora. Another plant you'll find in the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies is St. John's wort. It got that name from its uncanny ability to bloom exactly on June 24th, the birthday of St. John the Baptist. This plant has two major uses. The oil of St. John's wort is a highly effective cure for hemorrhoids. It reduces inflammation and relieves pain. Use the recipe for St. John's wort extracted oil and apply topically to the affected area. It's so simple. The tincture made from St. John's wort is probably the most powerful natural antidepressant that you can make at home. Unlike synthetic drugs, St. John's wort tincture has no side effects, and it's not addictive. We all have our ups and downs, but sometimes staying too much in a slump can cause serious health problems. The main ingredient in St. John's wort is hypericin, a substance that leads to increased dopamine levels by blocking an enzyme that would normally turn it into something else, depleting levels of dopamine. In the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies, you'll probably also find folk remedies that our grandparents gave us to bring down fever, cure sore throat, banish the flu, and many more. They used only common household items. This is just a tiny, small glimpse of what you'll find in the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. Really, there's too much to say here. There are hundreds of remedies you'll find in this book. The index has literally 20 pages with just the diseases and the afflictions covered in this book. This is what 20 years of medical research and practicing natural medicine looks like. But there's more that you're going to get. If you get the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies today, you'll also take advantage of two exclusive gifts that will be off the table soon. First, you'll get the 80 square feet medicinal garden in your backyard. Wouldn't it be nice to walk out into your backyard and find the medicines you need growing right there? If you think about it, 80 square feet is a very small piece of land, just 12 by 6 feet. So no matter how small your backyard is, you can still grow natural remedies there. The second exclusive gift you'll get is called Disaster Medicine, a handbook for when help is not on the way. In a cataclysmic crisis, you can bet aid is not coming from anyone but yourself. In this bonus, you'll find the 20 most common infections and diseases that run rampant in most disasters. You'll learn how to diagnose them and how to treat them naturally using plants in the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. In a crisis, these diseases account for more than 95% of medical fatalities. So if you choose to place the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies on your bookshelf, you'll also get these two exclusive bonuses that are worth $29 each for free and unlimited access to the members area and 24/7 support. The average American forks over about $800 every year on pills. I didn't want the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies to be anywhere near that. So today, you can get your own copy of the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies and the two bonuses for a one-time payment of just $37. Most of us are not used to facing medical emergencies. It seems like a distant possibility, and I surely hope so. But in the long run, there's no escape from it. Isn't it better to have this knowledge at your fingertips? Here is what is written on the patient information leaflet of the all-time best-selling drug in the USA. For children and adults taking TNF blockers, including Humira, the chance of getting lymphoma or other cancers may increase. There have been cases of unusual cancers in children, teenagers, and young adults using TNF blockers. Some people have developed a rare type of cancer called hepatosplenic T-cell lymphoma. This type of cancer often results in death. Not all pills have such frightening side effects, but in the long run, they all have the same side effects. It's so easy just to pop pills these days without ever thinking what happens later. I printed the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies in a limited edition, so the only promise I can really make is that you'll get one if you order now. I really don't know if at this moment there are any more copies available. You have a full 60 days to try the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. If at any time during those 60 days you are not completely satisfied with the results, send us an email and we'll give you back every cent. It's as simple as that. That's my personal guarantee to you. Think for yourself, act according to your own judgment, and learn to depend on yourself for you and your family. The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies is just a tiny but very important bit of knowledge we need to pass on to our children and grandchildren. The knowledge of plants will soon be lost forever if we don't do something about it. Thank you for watching. Many blessings and good health.